when Christianity came in Scandinavia, and as I heard, I don't know if that's true, Finland, and with all this paganism, was one of the latest countries, if not the latest one, that received Christianity. So they're like really fighting. They wanted their natural religion,
Mhm.
paganism, to to stay as long as possible. And then one of you guys mentioned yesterday that when Christianity came, they didn't destroy, everything that was there, including their so-called sacred pagan writings,
Mhm.
which are they use runes for writing, but it actually some Christian priests used to copy to preserve. So can we please talk a little bit about that? Why would Christian monks or bishops or priests why would they do that? What was their motive?
That's a great question. I think it goes back to the question about should Christians pay attention to myths. The early church, first millennia church, when they came to a new culture, because God became man and humanity as a whole was redeemed through what Christ accomplished. Their perspective was, well, God spoke to this people too. And if God spoke to them, what is the thing that points to God in their culture? I don't need to make them I don't need to introduce them to the Jesus of the Jews. I need to Rabbi Jesus. I need to introduce them to the Jesus of the Nords, the Native Americans. And you start. That's how they approached culture. Is that there is no holy culture. What it is God has spoken to many people in many ways across all of time, and it's our job to pull that out of them, is to go, all right, what in your stories points to God? So for instance, the entire Nordic um, mythology that has survived to today was written down, probably edited, but written down by Orthodox monks who went up there, became a part of the culture, realized, wow, this story about Odin on the tree is so much like Christ and bears the same, or could bear the same meaning if we give them a different framework to understand it. And so they kept it. And you'll see that I've got a book called, ooh, man, that's really bright, of Gods and Men. It's a studies in Lithuanian mythology. And one of the things the author, who's an agnostic or an atheist, constantly comes back to is, this is what we have, but it's probably influenced by Orthodox or ancient Christianity, because you can see the the weaving of the Christian thought in it, and they don't know how to separate what is Christian from what is native, of native origin. It's like, yeah, that's probably because that's what the intention of the Christian writers and the people that recorded these were actually trying to do, was going, hey, this so fits into Christ. All you need is one puzzle piece to drop and you're going to see Christ in it. So that would be my answer to that question.
Yeah, something that I was just thinking about. Imagine a church that is so jealous for what God was doing in these other cultures that they're willing to try to untangle all of these things. They're not going to throw anything out, and they're not afraid of it. That's
Right.
the big thing. They're not afraid of it. Our God is bigger,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's why we don't have to get rid of Easter and Christmas. Who cares if they're pagan holidays? They're ours now. They're baptized.
Yep.
Um, our God is bigger. We win,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And so when we see these portraits of Christ, even though they're marred in these other places, we should praise God.
Mm-hmm.
And just like what you were saying, that there's no sanctified culture, right? There's no holy culture. So what if we look across the board and you have all these different nations that have Jesus depicted differently, and that's a good thing
It is a good
because
thing.
now Jesus is one of them, which is
Yes.
what he was. That's what he came to be. He's
Yes.
not something foreign.
Yes.
He's not far from many of us.
Right. And it's not an incarnation of a Jew. He incarnated humanity, right? And that's the biggest thing. So if I can go to Central America and see some of the things that they're doing and going, wait, that's something that's very close to a Christian belief. That's why you can. My wife's Hispanic, so there's some cultural things that I'm aware of that I'm going, well, that points to Christ, even though it's not Christian, right? They have an egg that they rub on your forehead, usually in the form of a cross, because Catholicism has influenced that. And then they break the egg and put it under your bed, and apparently it's supposed to draw all of the fever or whatever sickness into that egg. And then you think about, all right, why an egg? And then there's another culture that they have the red colored eggs that you see in the church now, colored eggs. But that didn't start in the church, but it was such a good picture of, all right, you have a hard shell, and you have a hard shell, like a cave, a rock, and within it is life. But the cave has to be broken open for life to come out. And you saw, and how did that happen? Well, it happened through the blood of Christ. Oh, yeah, but we already have these red eggs, and that's a perfect picture. Let's just bring it into the church. That's the type of thing. I'm just like, yes, that's Jesus being expressed to I think that's a Ukrainian practice, right? That's Jesus being expressed like, hey, it's him breaking out of the grave that cleanses us of all of our sicknesses. Oh, it makes sense to do the egg thing, right? All of those different things, like, this is just a picture of what Christ accomplished, but it was in seed form in that culture before, and we don't need to be afraid of it. If it's pointing to God, if it's pointing to something great and grand and beautiful, Jesus said, the greatest commandment is to love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength, and to love your neighbor as you love yourself. So if I see something that increases my love of God, neighbor, or self, that's probably from God.